Greetings, my beautiful lovelies, it's Emmy. Welcome back to another episode of Hard Times, where I explore food and recipes from times of hardship. Today, I'm going to be trying out a recipe that was sent to me by lovely Sama. Sama, thank you so much for commenting and for sending me this recipe. This is based on a childhood memory of theirs of having poor man's pancakes. Now, these are called poor man's pancakes because they contain no eggs and no leavening. Just 3 ingredients, really. You can also add another ingredient if you have it, but you can do this just with 3 ingredients: flour, sugar, and water. So I'm just going to whip up some pancakes. I'm going to have them with a couple of different alternatives to syrup. I'm going to have them with jam, peanut butter, and I'm also going to make a savory version that was inspired by Kenny Shopson, who, may he rest in peace, would make this at his restaurant, and it was pancakes with macaroni and cheese. Sounds great, right? I've always wanted to try it, and today I thought would be a good opportunity to do so. So let's go ahead and make these pancakes. So I'm gonna need a container. So I'm gonna go ahead and double this recipe. 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar. Boy, these are gonna be sweet. So this is what Sama P said in their comment. They called them eggless crepes because eggs were more expensive. We'd have to use powdered milk. We'd top them with whatever pantry items we had: jam, jelly with powdered sugar, sometimes peanut butter. So since Sama used some dried milk powder, I'm gonna do the same. And I happen to have a huge bag of this from when I made mozzarella cheese from dried milk powder. I'm gonna put about 3 teaspoons of that in there. And I'm gonna add 1 cup of water. Meanwhile, I have my griddle heated up here. You could do this in just a regular skillet, but I'm using my griddle because I'm going to be cooking several of these at one time. So mix that in. So now I can see why Sama said that these are going to be crepe pancakes, because this batter is very thin. Use a little bit of oil here and wipe up the excess with a paper towel. It's a very thin batter. It's always a great sound. So, as always when cooking pancakes, once you start seeing some bubbles starting to appear and popping, that's a good indication that these might be ready to flip. Also around the edges, when you start seeing them kind of set up, then you also know that's a good time. See, here are the bubbles that I'm talking about. So I'm going to increase the heat a little bit to about 325. So for the one I just poured, I'm going to add a little bit of macaroni and cheese right into the middle of this one. This one goes out to you, Kenny Shopson. Hope you're resting easy. If you haven't seen the documentary about Kenny Shopson, I'll put a link down below. It's worth watching. So right off the bat, these pancakes have a different kind of look to them. They look a little bit shinier, a little bit more plastic, and they're browning up a little differently too. Maybe that's because there's no baking powder in this. So these are definitely thinner than regular pancakes, but they're thicker than crepes. So I know this is cringeworthy. I'm going to be using a metal spatula on this griddle, but this griddle actually came with a metal spatula, so I think it can take it. These pancakes are so thin, they need something thin to flip them. Okay, there we go. There's the pancake. Interesting, right? Lastly, our mac and cheese. Give that one a mush. They're definitely different consistency than a typical like IHOP style pancake or Bisquick style pancake, and they're not as browned. They're thinner, and when I flip them, they feel a little bit more rubbery. Alrighty, so let's give our poor man's pancake a taste. Let's try them plain first before we add anything. Ooh. They feel pretty crispy. Look at that. Wow, they're crispy. Can you hear that? That's what they look like on the bottom. Okay, let's give that a taste. Itadakimasu. They have a very pleasant, crisp texture to them, slightly chewy in the middle. Definitely different than a typical pancake house style pancake. They're not as fluffy at all. Not surprising because there's no leavening. There's a little bit of a chew to them, but they've got a nice kind of caramelized crisp to them. They're very sweet. They actually don't need any syrup whatsoever. There's plenty of sweetness in there. In terms of flavor, they taste a lot like a fortune cookie. That level of sweetness of a fortune cookie, kind of caramelized, sugary flavor, but it's missing a little bit of butter, but really it's not bad. Very sweet, so I wouldn't add any syrup to this whatsoever. But yeah, they're pretty good. And definitely a lot sweeter than a French crepe. Also thicker in texture too. And it really doesn't need any syrup whatsoever because it's so sweet. Having said that, I'm now going to try it with some peanut butter because that was Sama's recommendation. So grab some peanut butter and add some peanut butter here. And I'm also going to add some strawberry jelly too. Do you remember that song? Peanut butter and jelly. That's what I like in my belly. That's great. Creamy peanut butter. Adds a ton of flavor. The jelly adds some more sweetness and fruity flavor to it. Delicious. Also, Sama recommended powdered sugar, so let me grab that. There we go. I don't imagine this is going to be all that much more flavorful. It's just more visually appealing, and it's going to be sweeter, I imagine. Here we go. It's actually not noticeably sweeter. It's just very pretty. Now let's try the Kenny Shopson special, the macaroni and cheese pancake. So here's the pancake, turned over, and there's the macaroni and cheese. That one doesn't work so well. It should be said though that I'm not a huge macaroni and cheese fan, so right from the beginning, I think the biggest problem I have with this is the texture. The macaroni and cheese is kind of gummy, and pancake is a little bit gummy too, a little bit of crispness. It's just not all that flavorful. I don't think the mac and cheese really adds much more to this than just a little bit of extra carbs. Oh, I bet if I put some fresh shredded cheese in that, then that would take this to another place. Besides adding carbs, I don't think the macaroni and cheese in this case, with this particular recipe and without any additional cheese, adds all that much. Granted, Kenny I think would have done this differently. He would have used a different batter and of course different macaroni and cheese. But just out of curiosity, I wanted to see what would happen. But yeah, that one's not my favorite. I think hands down, my favorite combination with this particular pancake for sure is the peanut butter and jelly. It's so good. I think actually peanut butter and jelly would be good with any kind of pancake. It's just such a great combination of richness and fruity sweetness. I think if I were to make this recipe again, I would definitely pull back on the sugar, maybe use half the amount, but I think in this current state of a 1:1:1 ratio, kids would love this. It's super sweet. You don't need any syrup whatsoever because it is so sweet. And in terms of taste, it tastes a lot like a fortune cookie. So there you have it, poor man's pancakes. Big thanks to Sama for sharing this recipe with me. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you have a recipe that you'd like me to test out or try, or one that you have in your family, I would love to hear about it. Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, thanks for joining me again. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope you guys learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye!